Welcome to today's Explainer. We are digging into some seriously powerful source material today. We're talking about a literal psychological weapon, something I've managed to decode from the lives of five of history's absolute biggest titans. And listen, this isn't just about, feeling a little bit better on a random Tuesday. This is about becoming totally emotionally unbreakable. Because let's face it, if you don't grasp these concepts, you're kind of doomed to spend your entire life as a slave to other people's reactions. But hey, if you stick with me here, I'm going to share the exact secrets that allowed these giants of industry to completely detach their minds from all the external chaos. So let's uncover what actually separates the people who never give up from, well, the rest of us. Okay, let's dive into this, because before we start looking at the titans of history, we kind of need to look in the mirror. I want to speak directly to your modern insecurities for just a second. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, yeah, absolutely, I want to be mentally strong. But let's be real with each other. Yesterday, when someone ignored your message on WhatsApp, did you spend the whole day overthinking it? Did you draft like 3 different passive-aggressive replies in your head? Or when your Instagram post didn't get enough likes, did you suddenly just feel completely demotivated? When someone made a passing joke about your big dreams, did you immediately start doubting yourself? Look, I'm not judging you at all, but the source material hits really hard on this one truth. Until we admit that our emotions are currently being controlled by tiny glowing screens and fleeting validation, we absolutely cannot find the solution. And that brings us to Andrew Carnegie, who once shared this profound truth. He said, "When you realize nobody's opinion changes your reality, you become immortal." Just look at the jarring contrast between our modern obsession with digital likes and that kind of bulletproof wisdom. It's crazy, right? The real power of this idea was actually put to the ultimate test back in 1937 by Napoleon Hill. Picture this. Hill is sitting completely alone in a tiny, frankly depressing hotel room. He's totally broken, defeated. After 20 whole years of research and over 500 interviews with millionaires, literally every single publisher had rejected his book, Think and Grow Rich. They basically told him it wouldn't sell, that it was way too philosophical. But in that moment of utter despair, Carnegie's words echoed in his mind. Hill realized that if he truly believed in his work, those publishers' opinions were just noise. That specific realization ended up saving Hill's legacy. But you're probably wondering, how do we actually execute that in the heat of the moment? Well, let's shift our focus to our first practical secret, and this one comes straight from the office of John D. Rockefeller. So Hill was actually sitting right there in Rockefeller's office one day when this guy burst through the doors in an absolute panic. He delivered some seriously devastating news. A massive multi-million-dollar deal had completely fallen through. We're talking millions of dollars wiped out in a single instant. Hill is sitting there totally braced for impact. He's expecting Rockefeller to explode, start screaming, maybe throw something across the room. But what Rockefeller did next was, well, it was absolutely staggering in its simplicity. And this brilliantly illustrates his secret. Rockefeller simply paused, closed his eyes for exactly 5 seconds, opened them, smiled, and calmly asked, "Okay, what's our next move?" Wow. When someone later asked how he could stay so insanely calm after losing millions, Rockefeller broke down his exact 4-step framework. First, you give yourself 5 seconds to fully feel the negative emotion, the anger, the frustration, the grief, whatever it is. Second, you just accept that it happened. Third, you intentionally release it, literally visualizing that emotion leaving your body. And fourth, you instantly move on and pivot your entire focus strictly to the solution. It's like emotions are just waves, right? If you hold on to them, they're gonna drown you. Moving right along. Thomas Edison's mental filter. Now, Edison was undeniably a genius, sure, but he was also a massive lightning rod for intense criticism. He was receiving hundreds of messages every single day from people just mocking his experiments. Out of all those daily critics, journalists, and loudmouths desperately trying to get inside his head, how many people's opinions do you think he actually allowed to matter? Exactly 5. Take a second to let that sink in. Out of the entire world, he wrote down just 5 names in a little notebook. And Edison had incredibly strict criteria for those 5 names. To even make it through his mental filter, a person had to be a genuine expert in the field, they had to be a proven achiever, possess undeniable good intentions toward him, be further ahead in the journey than he was, and they had to provide strictly useful advice. The core lesson from the source material here is incredibly liberating, honestly. You have to stop wasting your precious energy trying to justify yourself to people who simply aren't on your level. Seriously, you don't need to explain your vision to people who aren't even walking your path. Just let your results do the talking. But what happens when the crisis isn't just some random critic, but a total collapse of your reality? Let's take a look at 1929, the Great Depression. This was the second major crisis for Napoleon Hill. During this incredibly dark time, the very man who literally wrote the book on success lost absolutely everything. His home, his savings, his entire business, just gone. He was living in this tiny, cramped apartment, going to bed hungry, and the public, they mocked him. They actually pointed and laughed at the motivational speaker who was now completely broke. During those dark days, Hill confessed to feeling like a total fraud. The weight of that failure was absolutely crushing him. But then, one sleepless night at like 4 a.m., everything changed. Hill dragged himself out of bed and just started digging through his 20 years of research. He pored over thousands of pages, the interviews with Carnegie, the advice from Ford, the philosophy of Rockefeller, and by 6 a.m., he stumbled upon a truth he had actually written down himself, and it hit him like a ton of bricks. He realized he was teaching principles that he wasn't actually living out in his own darkest hour. He decided right then and there to stop just preaching his philosophy and start actually living it. And guess what? Within 3 years, by applying his own teachings, he rose back up, stronger and way wiser than ever before. All right, next up, Theodore Roosevelt's ultimate shield. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how he handled pressure. When you're the president of the United States, you're dealing with relentless daily attacks from literally every direction. So to survive this absolute meat grinder, Roosevelt engineered a brilliant defensive framework, right in his diary. On the left side, he had battles I will fight. These were the things that actually moved the needle. Policies, the future, his core values. But on the right side, battles I will ignore. Personal attacks, political drama, and just random opinions. He fully understood that reacting to everything isn't a sign of strength at all. It's actually a profound weakness. True strength is being highly selective. Basically, the more you ignore the noise, the more powerful you become. So we've looked at Rockefeller's reset, Edison's filter, and Roosevelt's shield. But here is the stark reality of human behavior. After 25 years of the source material studying this, a very distinct pattern emerges. 95% of people will consume this exact type of content just to feel a temporary burst of motivation. They'll get super excited for maybe 2 days, and then slip right back into their old patterns. But only a tiny, elite 5% actually apply these frameworks to their daily lives. And it is strictly that 5% who actually succeed and become genuinely emotionally unbreakable. So I'm going to leave you with this final, absolutely crucial question based on everything we've unpacked today. Which side of the chart do you belong to? Are you going to be in the 95% who just nod along, or the 5% who actually take action? The source material challenges you to a 7-day, 5-second reset challenge. For the next week, whenever you face an insult, a rejection, or just a really frustrating moment, do not react. Pause for exactly 5 seconds, feel it, release it, ask yourself if it actually affects your ultimate goal, and then move on. Make a public commitment today to be in that 5%, because ultimately, the strength to be emotionally unbreakable is sitting right there in your hands. You just have to choose to use it.